Before commencing the program, I would like to invite Mr. Imran bin Tajul Arus to lead the Dua recitation and a moment of silence.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Al-Fatihah. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa nasta'in. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ya Allah, the one and only who's capable to write in the Luh Mahfuz. You are the one who created the wonders of the moon and the sun, the skies and the seas, the earth that cycles in the infinite cycle, also the wonders and secrets in the seven seas. You are the most merciful and gracious one. Grant us your forgiveness and love. Bless us, our family, our friends, our relatives, and all people around the world. Ya Allah, help and guide us so that we can walk on your path. Treasure us with your redha so we will become blissful and successful eternally. With that, Ya Allah, bless our program today so our gathered effort will gain your rahmat the moment it starts to its last second. Please put nothing in this program but all goodness and blessings. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa ilam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi washabbihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Amin ya rabbal alamin.
Amin Amin Ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Mr. Imran, for leading the Dua recitation. May our event today go well and smoothly with the blessing of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, inshallah. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. I bid to all audience. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. We are very pleased to be able to welcome all of you with open arms. And first and foremost, I would like to express my sincere appreciation towards the invited speaker, Mr. Muhammad Hazwan Effendi, for accepting our invitation to be a speaker in Learn to Code in Python workshop. Then I also would like to deliver my gratitude to all of the individuals, members of engineering club committee who generously helped me in making this event come together. I couldn't have done it without you. Well, I don't want to take too much of time, but I just want to say that enjoy today's workshop and I hope that our participants are able to learn a lot of things from it. Once again, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. That would be all. Without further ado, it is now my pleasure to introduce our special speaker for today, Mr. Muhammad Hazwan Effendi. But before that, do allow me to read out a few things from his biography. Our excellent lecturer for today, Mr. Muhammad Hazwan bin Effendi, originated from Alos Takda and was born on the 6th of October 1983. Mr. Hazwan is currently a machine learning engineer graduated from Cardiff University, United Kingdom in 2006, where he took his bachelor's in engineering. To top it all, he is extremely proficient in Python language and is deeply invested in several major projects correlated with AI engineering, wherein he collaborates with big companies like Petronas and Sindarbi. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Hazwan in his sharing session.
Okay, thank you, Aino. Can you all hear me clearly?
Can hear, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. First, let me share my screen. All right. Assalamualaikum and good morning to all of you, especially the students of UMS. So thank you for inviting me to this talk. So basically, today I will be talking about Pythons, but I will not go so details into the syntax of Pythons. This is an overview, the application of Pythons, why people use it, and how does it, how does people use this in the real world. And in the end, we're going to do some quick activity. So I separate this talk into 4 main topics, which is first is what is a Python, the overview of Python. What is this language is all about? What makes it different from others? And second, we talk about why Python, why people use them, why it grew so much recently, and the third things we're going to talk about where does we use Python in real life. This is mostly from my experience, where I use mostly on Python in all of my projects. And lastly is we're going to do 2 quick projects on Python. First is a basic Python, and the second one is something related to my domain, which is computer visions. So this is a bit about me. My name is Muhammad Hazwan bin Effendi. I'm a machine learning engineer. Machine learning is a subset of AI. I will talk about that later. So I graduated from Cardiff University. Right now, I'm working for a Singapore company, Essence Solutions. It's my current project is right now is building a smart warehouse where things are automatically tracked using a bunch of cameras. So if you heard about Amazon Go, then you know that's some basically similar things are what I'm building right now, but it's for warehouse. So before this, I worked at Aerodyne. Aerodyne is a drone as a service company. If you heard about it, in there I work with a few big name clients such as Sangabi, Northport, Plus Highway, and PricewaterhouseCoopers, an auditing company. Then I moved to an Infrantech. It's an AI startups in KL. So it basically my project there is for a big project for Petronas. And then I moved to iaitu. iaitu is CP Global is a Singapore company too. It's a finance company, but it has I'm in the tech team and doing R&D on the retail analysis product. So let's go through what's okay. So before that, if anyone has a question during my talk, feel free to ask. So I can explain what you can understand on the video on the slides. So we go first is what is Python. So Python is created by Guido van Rossum in 1991. It's not really old. Fun fact is that the name Python is because during the building of the Python, he read the Monty Python book. So he named this language Python. So it's a high level, general purpose, where you can do anything in Python without using to use other language. So it dynamically type. Then I will explain this later. What is dynamically type, and it also batteries included. So meaning if you install Python in your computer, you get all of a bunch of other ready software, ready library in there. So if you can see from this link, Python standard library, we have all these libraries just in the standard Python. So there's like a lot of things just on the Python alone without having to import any external libraries. Okay, so I'm going through a quick introduction of interpreted versus compiled. So Python is an interpreted language. So if you're familiar with C, C++ is a compiled language. So to make an easy visualization of it, I'm going to explain an example. So let's say we have a text of a story here. So a compile is when you want to, so your task is to read this story in, let's say, other language, let's say Malay language. So in a compile way, you first write down this text in Malay. So you take your time, you write it down in Malay, and then you speak the text, you read the text out loud. So the interpreted way is like you're given a text in English, so you directly read and translate it in your mind and speak in a other language. So that is interpreted. So obviously we can see like the performance of a compile is much faster because the overhead time of translating this has already been done. So this person just need to read this text without having to think about anything. So versus interpreted is something like when you have a text, you have to do line by line, you translate it, and you read it. So both have a pro and cons. Mainly both serve to different purposes. So there's some people that need to use this type of compile language. And there's other people like me that use interpreted language more important than compile one. So it depends on the usage of the person itself. So this is about Python. Why Python? Why do people use Python? So the main 5 things that I can think of is these 5 core reasons of why people are using Python. First, it is in easy language. It is a high level. It's a forgiving language. Okay, so this is what a dynamic data type is. So let's say you want to print something, we just print without having to import anything. And then let's say you want to declare a variable. So you have a different kind of variables. You have a string, integer, you have a float. So let's say I put a variable name is animals is equals to eagle. So this is automatically the Python node is a string. So we doesn't have to declare the type of variable beforehand, like it's in other language. So other language you have to you tell the program that you want to declare animals as a string, and then you tell the value of the animal. So in Python you just put an whatever name you want equals to whatever value you want, and it automatically infer it as a string. And then you can change the same variables that is already a string into other variables such as integer. So you can put that animals equals 1, 2, 3, 4. So it still doesn't give out an error. So you have and then you can change the animals to a float after you change it to integer, and still doesn't give an error. So and then you can change the animals to totally other different types, which is an array. So we change that, and it still doesn't give an error of that. So if you know other compile language, you not only have to declare, but if you learn something like about Rust is a very complex language where not only you have to declare variables, but even you have a variable that have a value, you cannot change the variable value. So that's kind of weird because a variable is supposed to be something that you can change in value, but they have a concept in Rust that there's a variable, then you cannot change the value. So so there's a language that are far more complicated. So this is Python make everything so easy. So it helps you to code faster because you don't have to think about all the messy stuff of the syntax of the programming language. And then let's say I want to loop something. So in Python, there's only 2 kind of loop. You have a for loop, you have a while loop. So it doesn't have to need to learn any other weird loops. So just these 2 loops can do a bunch of different stuff. So let's say I want to loop one by one in this animals array. So I just put for animal in animals, print animal. So it will print one by one of these. So you doesn't have to put for animal I plus 1 and something. So it's straightforward. It's easy to understand. And then this is the second best thing is because when you have a problem or error in Python, you can quickly search out on the internet and like 90% of the time, people already have a solution of that. So this is what a graph of Stack Overflow is. So as you can see, the Python is the red line. So you can see from 2012 onwards, it begins to accelerate rapidly, more than other languages. So basically, most of the question that you already have a problem with, there's already an answer in Stack Overflow in Python. So with other language, you may not find the answer. Not only you can find the answer, but you can find the most optimized answer that produce the fastest speed. So that's why Python is good for a beginner to learn, because it helps you. So if you can see that why this suddenly in 2012 there's an accelerated growth. So this is the side topic. Why suddenly in 2012 there's an accelerated growth of Python. So there's a if you know, there's a competition is in this world that called ImageNet competition. So the task is basically to have they gave you a 14 million images, and they want you to figure out how, if I give a picture of a cow, I want you to detect that's a cow. So so there's a bunch of things. There's about thousands of objects in the data set. So before 2012, people fairly get fairly bad, not accurate result for it. So on 2012, there are someone that use convolutional neural networks, which is a part of AI, to process that data set, and he got a very significant result from that use of that algorithm. So basically, this is where the people realize that AI can solve something, and then that's why it's from 2012 onwards, it's grow rapidly. And then in Python, there's a lot of libraries. So apart from the standard libraries, you have another 235,000 other libraries. So basically, everything under the sun in the Python libraries. If you want to do a web, there's a libraries for it. You have a libraries for graphic, for images. I mean, for everything you can ever think of, there's a library in Python. Okay, the next one is easy to understand. So if you go to any of the GitHub that in Python, you can see that it is easy for you to go through the code and understand what the person is doing, because it's all it's similar to the English word. So if let's say let me see the function here is starts with, so you know it doesn't have to refer to the library to know what's this. So you know that this thing finds something that this string that starts with welcome. So this one is ends with welcome. So there's a bunch of things that really similar to a language speaking things, like this code is speak English with you. So it's really easy to understand. Okay, then we move to okay, where do people use Python in real life? So basically, this is a three main branch. So there's other things that people use Python for, but this is three main things. The first one, the main thing is for big data and AI. So in Python, we have a very popular library, or mathematical library, which is NumPy. It's a very fast optimized library for mathematical calculations. And then we have a Pandas. Pandas is like an Excel, but in Python. And then you have a deep learning library. This is TensorFlow and PyTorch. One is being developed by Google. The other is being developed by Facebook. And then you have imaging libraries such as OpenSeries. And then you have people use Python to do a web. You have a Django Plus API. So what makes this unique is that let's say for myself, like this, if I develop a machine learning model and I want to deploy it to the web, I can just quickly write a single Python script, because in Python there's a big data library that do all the number crunching, and then also there's a web library. So in one single Python script, you can do both things together. So I don't need to pass this result of this AI into some other languages, Java or something, to make it available for the web. So I can use the same Python script to do both of these things together. So that's where the best thing about Python is, because you doesn't need to learn. You can learn other language, but you doesn't need to learn other language to do the things that you want. So it's all available under Python libraries. And the third one is an automation. So automation is when people are doing something that repeated tasks that you can simplify by doing using Python script. Okay, so this is the example of where I use Python in real life. So let's say okay, so my task usually my task is let's say the problem come up, the client come up with a problem statement. So let's say they say okay, I have this problem. This problem can you solve it using your software. So what I'm concerned of is I want to get the solution as soon as possible. So I don't want to worry about all the syntax, all the memory problem, all the optimization problem yet. So what I want to do is do the logic, do the coding, do training, or whatever necessary to solve that problem. So I don't want to worry about memory consumption, syntax that is not related to the problem. And I don't want to write a raw library from scratch just to solve the problem. Let's say the problem requires you to read an Excel file. So we have a Python libraries that read an Excel file. So it doesn't need to like pass the Excel file in raw form, in serialize it, and get the table or something like that. So you can just read directly the value and use that value to solve the client's problem. So this is where I'm using Python in my real life. This is where Python helps me in real life. Okay, so for example, let's say I show, let's say the client have a problem like, okay, I have an image. So I want to for you to count how many percent are there in the image that I given. So my problem concept is how to develop an algorithm to count that percent, and how to train a model or anything related to whatever the problem is. What I don't want to do is how to read a raw images. I mean, from that JPEG image, how to decode it into an object in Python. How to build when I already have the result, I don't want to know how to build a web server to deploy that. So everything has been taken up by Python library over here. So this is the core of my problem, which I need to solve. So this is a bit about an overview of Python, of AI. This is just a topic, so you can understand this. This is my domain. So right now is AI is basically the whole umbrella that encompasses all of the subtopics. So subset of the AI is machine learning, and subset of machine learning is deep learning. So deep machine learning is something that you created an algorithm to solve something. Deep learning is when the computer figure out what's the algorithm to solve the things. So let's say you want a handcrafted algorithm, you have to first find the edges. Then if you find the edges and if you see the shape is a circle, you make this. If this shape circle, you know it's a ball. So it's something like that. So there's a handcrafted algorithm. So in a deep learning is when you put an image of a ball, and then you ask the computer to make their own pattern to decide that this thing is a ball. So it is similar as you are teaching like 3 years old. Let's say you want to show him what's a cat look like. You don't describe to him like, oh, a cat is an animal that walk on 4 legs, that is have fur, is have a tail. So it's a bit hard to understand because it's in general, because there's other things that also have the same shape as that. She says a dog also have the similar description of that. So to teach a small kids what's a cat look like, you show him a cat and you tell him, okay, this is a cat. So you show another cat and you tell him this is a cat. So over time he's learning what's a cat look like, how it's different from other animals, although similar. So that's how deep learning learn to classify things. So we show him a bunch of pictures of a cat. So it figure out what pictures to look like for it to tell it is a cat. So in AI right now, if you're interested to make it as your job career, so there's 3 main component of AI, which is computer vision, which is my part or my industry. So the next one you have NLP. This is the next second thing that's been growing rapid recently. So it's good because I've seen a lot of people asking for, the demand for NLP is very high. So if you see any freelance website, so almost every day people asking to solve an NLP problem. NLP is what your Hello Google or Siri on your iPhone do. It deals with a text version of AI. So computer vision and image version of AI. NLP is a text version, a language version. And then you have a third part, which is reinforced learning. So reinforced learning is a set of AI that deals with games such as a Go, that games Go that defeat the best Go player in the world, AlphaGo. So and if you know Dota AI, so Dota AI is a reinforced learning AI. So the AI learn. You give a rules to AI how to play this game, so it will learn by itself to play the game. Okay, so basically that's an introduction to Python before we start our learning of a project. So far, does anyone has any question? If not, I'm going to start with the. This is a basic. So basically, when for me, when I want to learn any language, so the best way to learn for me is by doing a project. So it get you much faster understanding. It's easier to catch up, and instead of just going through all the library and the syntax and all the things in the standard documentation. So we're going to start with rock, paper, scissors basics projects. So for this, you can open this link. We're going to go through one by one what it means. I paste it in the chat. Okay, so if you scroll down to this part of codes, you will see that This is about 36 lines of codes. So, okay, I'm going to go through a line by line here. So this is my code editor. Okay, so if you are not familiar, I suggest you can use Visual Studio Code. It's the best code editor, I think, out there. First, okay, so in Python, this random is a standard Python library to generate a random number. So first declaration of script usually start with importing some libraries. So we don't want to burden our script with all those libraries. So we just import whatever we want to use. So in this case, we're going to import from random library, random integer. So you have other random things, random float, random with a different distribution. So and then we created a list of T. T is a list. A list is a bunch of things in one object. So we have a rock, a paper, and scissors. So we create a tree list. Okay, so then we assign a computer. So what this line do is okay, what this line do is
Sir.
Yep.
Maybe it's better if you present the window or screen that you're looking at. So.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So the others can see which are you referring to and stuff like that.
Wait. Oh, I didn't realize it's not shared.
Oh, it's okay, doctor. Yeah. Nice.
All right. Okay, can you see? Okay. Okay. So so the first line is normal Python script. We're going to import things. So this is a standard library. So we doesn't need to do any installation because it's a standard one. So the second one is we declare an array. Array is a bunch of things in one object. And then this is the, if you want a rock paper scissors, this is when this is the computer's hand. So this is what the computers are guessing, and this is what the computers are playing. So we take a random integer. So in Python, the object start with 0, not 1. So this is a 0, this is 1, this is 2, and then this is T and whatever number. So if this random integer return a 0, so it become rock. If it's 1, paper, 2, scissors. So we assign this value. So this is a value of either one of these. Okay, so this is the while loop. So as I said before that in Python you only have two kind of loops. First is a for loop. Second is a while loop. So while we do this because we want this to keep in looping forever. So we doesn't want just to play once and it ends. So if we want to stop to play, we just turn the player value to true and it will stop playing. So while we do this while loop to keep this program run forever. So then we have a input value. So this will ask in the terminal. If you can see here. So this is an input value. So the cursor stop here for you to write something here. So so you can see that this this input is to wait for you for the user to input something. So this input will get into the variable of a player. So this one is if a player equals to a computer, meaning if we have the same rock or paper or scissors, it's a tie. So then there's an elif. Elif is if this is equal to rocks and computer equal to something else. So this is all the you go through every possible combination of it. So if it's rock paper, what happened? If it's rock scissors, what happened? And then to close the loop, if the person type something else other than rock paper scissors, then you give not valid things and you ask him to input that again. So I know. So for the activity, do we open or do we wait for any the participant to try, or we just proceed with their presentation? I know.
Then can we wait for participants to try it first?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
So if you guys have any question about the slide before or any of the this script, this project, feel free to ask.
So I do have a question. In the code, does it not have any specific data type for the rock paper scissors T2 list of play options? Don't we have to like declare data type for the list of play options, rock paper scissors, like maybe string T, like that?
Oh, yeah, because that's why Python is easy. So because you doesn't need to tell Python what data type that you want to use. So if you want to use a string, you just put the value as is, and the Python interpreter will figure out for you that that thing is a string. So you doesn't need to tell it earlier that you want to declare a string variable.
Oh,
That
I see.
things to
Thank you.
it string to other integer or float without having an error in Python. So if you see that we see this is the list of strings, so we doesn't need to tell Python that this is the list of strings. So I have a question. Yeah. Okay. So I give an example. We use interpreted language when we are in a prototype phase where we doesn't know yet what output it will become. So we doesn't have a clear path of what to do yet. So we want to focus on the problem first. So if you know that how people are making a car, so before they make a car, they do a clay version of the car. So that clear version of a car is like what the interpreted language is in a real world. So they don't want to go to the details of cutting a steel or something. So they want to sculpt the car first. They have it at the right curve, right weight, and then only after that they want to do things in production. So interpreted language is when you want to do something, sort of things that have not yet happened, a definite outcome of it. So you use a compiled language when you have usually when you are finished writing a Python language. So to deploy in productions, you need to use a compiled language, because compiled language is something that really optimized for memory, for the CPU, and so on, so on. So you want the things to be as fast as possible to consume the low memory footprint as possible. So that's where the compiled language comes from, right? The task of the compiled language just is translating that they already know what loop they want to use, what variables are there, what algorithm they want to use. So it's easier for the compiled language to write in compiled language, because we already write this out in Python. So it's just a matter of translating the Python code to C or C++ or Java to make it easy in the real world. So basically, a language that Python does not use in production because it is not fast enough. So mostly the things are in production. So let's say you have Adobe Photoshop, or even your Windows OS itself is from a compiled language, because it needs to be run as fast as possible without having a problem on the CPU and memory. So when we need to do something that involves hardware and software, we use a compile. So we use interpreted when you want to first sculpt the program to what loop, what logic we want to put it. We want to focus on the problem, not the nitty-gritty details of the hardware or software. Okay, so if anyone already have a Python in their computer, so you can. Okay, so just want to explain a bit about the package installer in Python. So if you just want to run Python directly, you just can type. I usually code in Linux, but because it's a lot harder to install things in Windows. So when you type Python, there's a script available. So literally you can type something just line by line here, or you can run by script. So there's in Python, there's a manager named pip. So let's say you want to install something. Let's say you want to install Plus. Plus is a web library for Python. So you just use pip install and Plus. So I already have, so it doesn't install. So basically, in the PyPy library, so anything you want to install, basically in this library, PyPy is the library for Python. So we just this is the command to install whatever library that you want in Python. So pip install something, it will install that things for you. So if you go through a GitHub and you run the code and it say, oh, cannot find these libraries. So you just go to this website, you just pip install something and it will install for you. We going I think for the next one we have install. Yeah, we have installed things for the next one. Okay, does anyone have any more questions? The next question is, can I read or write binary data in Python? Yes, you can. You just there's a lot of serialization library in Python. So basically, let's say for my projects right now, I'm communicating with a Java application. So the Java send a message in a binary. I can just read the message directly in Python. So you have a bunch of, let's say you have a bunch of library that can read binaries in Python. So definitely can.
Sir,
Yes.
since we are in this pandemic, I just wanted to ask, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. Although the cases are high these last few days.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Okay, just to show that, so this is to illustrate the binary things in. So you can see that I received a binary data from here. So I can just decode it back from one just simple line from some libraries that have already built in to this one to read anything in binary. So this is my project. So you can decode or use anything to read back a binary in Python. There's a question that why do we import random integer from modules so that the computer can play? Oh, let me see what are actually the things. Okay, if you can see, wait, I changed it. All right. Yeah, so we doesn't import random integer because we want to, because if we play rock paper scissors, the other person whatever the other person do is something that is supposed to be random. So we suppose we doesn't know what the other person are throwing at us. It is a rock or paper scissors. So if we import random from random integer, you can actually the thing you want to use from that random is if you if I keep printing this thing, it will throw a random things at you. So it's either 0 or 1 or 2. That's because I'm limiting this to 0, 1 and 2. So if I put like 50, it will print some random number from 0 to 50. So this is what we want the computer to, this is what the computer are throwing at us. It is either a rock. So if it's 1, it's a rock or paper or scissors. So we want that to be in random. So that's why we're importing that these random things to generate a random numbers, because we cannot generate a random string. So we put that string in a specific order, 0, 1, 2. So we ask the Python to generate a random integers, so we can choose which one is which. Then we have next question is, what GUI toolkit does Python have? Python have the biggest one is Tkinter. Tkinter is actually there's a lot of GUI with Python. So Tkinter is one of them, and then you have PyQt. Qt is a Qt is a GUI software, but it's written in other language. So PyQt is a Python version of that. It's a Python API for that library. So basically, there's two big GUI library in Python. So there are Tkinter, Qt, there's really like a bunch more. So, but if you want to have a best support, then just use the two main ones here. The building of a UI for Python is quite tricky lah. It's not really as simple, because it's not because Python is a script language, and it doesn't. You need to imagine where's the box go to which coordinate. So it doesn't have a drag and drop things. So, does anybody has any question for the task on the rock, paper, scissors? Okay, I think that everyone yes, I will find a good if you want to run your script in Python, you save it as .py, and then you run Python, whatever your script name is, .py. So okay, so there's a question that can you explain the loop in the game? Okay, so this loop is you see this is where the Python is easy. So you see that this loop of player has the same name as this. This variable player has the same variable name as this player. So, but this variable is a boolean, it's a true or false. But this thing, this variable player with the same name is a string. It's either rock, paper, or scissors. You can see that Python can accept like the first one is a bool and then it changed to string without any problem. But this is not a good practice. You should put it on the other name now. But you can see, but it's easy that if you try to do this on the other language, it will throw you an error because this is a boolean variables. This is a string variable, so it cannot change that type. So the while loop here is to keep this thing run forever. So if you remove this this loop, while loop, it still can play, but it just play once and then it ends the script. So if you try to remove this whole while thing and you just put this thing without while, it will just run one and then it stop. So when it depends on what you want to do. If you want to keep the loop, you want to keep playing with the games, you put it in the loop, so it loop forever. If not, you just put it in one straight line and it just play once and it die. Or when the player want print like exit, then you put the player as a true and then the loop die. So that's basically what's this loop is. This is just a simple while loop. So while this thing is true, this thing is false, it keep running forever, all this thing. This one, it makes they take a guess for the next play. So up until here, it will just circle this loop forever until you decide to stop. To stop something in Python, you use Ctrl+C. Okay, I guess that's pretty easy task in Python. So the next one is we're going to do a face detection. So just a quick overview is face detection is not face recognition. So face detection is when you want to detect a face in an image. Face recognition, which the hype thing has been going, is when you want to detect an identity of a person from that image. So you can see a bunch of faces, but do you know the name of that face? So that is face recognition. Face detection is just that simple. So there's a big gap between face detection and face recognition. Face recognition is much more complicated than face detection. So for this, okay, so ignore all the libraries. So we're going to learn how to install a library in Python. So if you use Linux, you can use pip3 install. If you use Windows, you can use pip install. So the way you just write on whatever path that you are on, pip install opencv Python. So I already have one, so it doesn't install. So but to run this, you need an OpenCV libraries. OpenCV is imaging libraries that is very popular. It's like people all over the world are using it. So this is to install the mini version of that library. So this library has a bigger version of it. So if you install this and it doesn't have any error, you should be able to proceed to the next one. Okay, okay, so sorry, ignore this. Okay. So first, as usual, we're going to import libraries. Import libraries. First, we just need to import the one that we installed before, which is a CV2. So just import CV2, and we will import everything in the CV2 library. So okay, so we go to this line. This line is a fish cascade. Fish cascade is you need to download this. Open that link and save that page as XML thing on the same folder that you are running your Python code from. I paste it in the chat. Okay. What this do is it takes the file that I sent there. This file has specially been trained to find a face. So there's another topic for it, but basically this file has already optimized to find a person face. So we're going to open this file and make an object out of it, which is face cascade. So this object is a trained object that detects face. So the next line is a video capture. Video capture is still the same as a CV library. We're going to video capture 0. 0 is whatever your source of webcam is. So if your webcam is a USB, it usually is 1. If your built-in webcam from your laptop is 0, it depends. You can try 0, 1, 2, 3. So it depends on the hardware of your computer. So because I'm running on a laptop, so it's a 0. Okay, so this is the same while loop. We want this to run. Okay, let me show you first what this thing do. I have to stop my webcam. See, you can see that it tracked the face. So if you put another face, let's see. What is a so whichever person image that have a face is detected. So that basically what the program do. So this is a while loop. So because we want it to run forever until we stop it. This is a command in Python. Okay, this is a command in Python. So from this video capture object, so the first one, we open our webcam. The second one, we read the webcam line by line. Not line by line, frame by frame. So the red here is if is this success or not, then the frame. The frame is what we interested in. So we take that object video capture before, we read it, and it will return to you a frame. So meaning each frame of the webcam. So each second it return a frame. So this is what the frame is. And then we convert the frame to a grayscale image, because this model has been trained on a grayscale image. So we convert it to a grayscale, because usually our webcam is a color RGB. We change it to grayscale, and then we tell the model to find faces in that gray. So this gray is an image of a grayscale image of our webcam. So we put it in this model, a face cascade, and then it will return to you a box. Wait, I show what the box look like. So when we put your face in it, so it will return you a box on the 4 coordinates. So it will return this point top here, bottom, left, right. So it will return to you these 4 coordinates. So it will scan the picture that you give it, and it will return these 4 boxes where the face is. So as you can expect, that this face contain a tuple of 4 coordinates. Oh no, they are written in x, y, width, and height. So we can translate it to x, y is this. It written x, y is in the middle of the face. This is width. This is height. So that's the coordinate that written. So this is x, y. So this is the width of the box. This is the height of the box. Okay, so to draw a rectangle, we still use the same CV2.rectangle, and we draw it on the frame, and we pass it the coordinates that we get from this model. And this is the color of the line. This is the thickness of the line. So this line show the frame to us. I mean, it already processed the frame, but in order for us to see that what it looks like, so this is the line that show the image to us. So as you can see, we use all of CV2 libraries here. We use a cascade classifier, video capture, color, and image show. And then this one is to tell us what key in order to need to break the loop. And this one is to throw out all the objects, so it doesn't hog the memory. So if you can copy all of this and just try to run it. If you have any problem, you can feel free to ask. It's a question that if I want to be a programmer, should I learn only the latest coding languages or must I learn the basics? Actually, C++ is not basic. It's a high-level language. It depends on what you want to do. If you want to be a web programmer, then you learn JavaScript, you learn Java, you learn or if you want to be a mobile app programmer, you learn Swift, Ionic, Redux. It depends because there's a wide array of things that you can learn. A programming language is just a tools to get the job done. So let's say you are a dentist, you use the different tools. You are a surgeon, you use the different tools. You are a general practitioner, you use the different tools. So there's no one tools that can specific to what you want to learn. So, but if you focus on to be like mobile programming, so you just directly learn the Swift language or Java without having to bother learning another language, because basically the logic is the same. It's just you want to understand the library inside that language and the syntax of it. So I say no, you doesn't need to know C++, because during my university I also learned C++, and I even learned the lower level of C++, which is a Fortran, which is I completely doesn't understand at all. So it depends on what you want to create. I can say that on my colleague, people are getting a good salary is the one that is in a mobile programming. I say because it have a high demand, I think, because of the booming of the mobile phone. Web programming pretty competitive because there's a lot of programmers out there are doing web programming. If you want to go into an AI, is pretty hard at first, but you are pretty niche. So even if you compete on the world level, I mean, if you go to freelance or Upwork or anything like that, you have like 4, 5, or 10% are bidding on the same project. I mean, it's you imagine that the whole world, just 5 or just a handful of people can do that such project. So the demand is not yet in Malaysia, but overseas there's a lot of people asking to do a project in AI. So it depends on what you want to do, what your career path is. If you want to be a data scientist, then that's Python. I would say also there's a question that, do you think Malaysia ready to shift to AI? In your opinion, do you think Malaysia is prepared for the shift to AI? I would say from my experience working with a startup in AI, it really is hard for Malaysian market right now, because they are struggling to convince people to use AI, because people still can't see the benefit. People still can't see the benefit of the AI yet. So they already comfortable in their whatever system they are doing right now. So the shifting is a bit late for Malaysia. But in my experience, like applying for the job overseas, there's a lot of demand. So basically, I think if I apply at LinkedIn, there's a whole there's a call for interview for like most of the part of the world. I received from London, from Switzerland, from from all over the world. So it booming outside Malaysia, but I think Malaysia is I mean is yet to become a good opportunity job for AI. Then there's a question like how you use content. Content is something that in OpenCV. So basically, I will not go through really in depth of it, but you can see like in the documentation of an OpenCV, let's define content. So this is what machine learning is. So let's say, as I said before, if you want to find a square, so this is what you do one by one. So you handcraft an algorithm to see like which are the edges. So this edges form a rectangle. So if this so you put a lot of if, and then you get an output. So counter is one of function in OpenCV that you can find the edges of this. But on the real world application, it's not really practical because in real world there's no like black and white things like here. There's a lot of variety of things that is hard to find an edges. So that's why people are shifting to AI and deep learning because handcrafted algorithm is pretty complicated in real world. But if you want to know about context, you can read the documentation here in OpenCV. It even show you the simple script to run it. If anyone find an error running the script, feel free to ask. I think once you install the OpenCV library, it should be direct, straightforward from there. There's a question, is Python able to use HTML and Java at once? Not really understand it, but Java is a separate programming language. Python is a programming language. So you cannot run Java and Python because it's two different languages. But you can read HTML inside Python. Okay, wait. I don't understand what this green thing is a comment. So this is a for loops. This is a y. This is a x plus w, y plus h. So why we do that is because we want to okay. So the result from the model is the center point of the box, the width and the height. So what CB2 are looking for is the top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. So we want to translate this to this. So this is sorry. Sorry, wrong here. So the x and y is here. X and y is here. XY is the top left here. So it gives a width and a height. So we want to know the coordinate of this. So we put x plus width. We want to know the bottom is this is y plus height. So that's why we are adding width and height. To run on a Visual Studio Code, you just go to the tab above here, run, click on terminal, new terminal. So then you just run the code from here. Or usually you can just use PowerShell or command prompt to run your code. So already want to run, just go above here, you type md, and you will open directly the whatever the path of the thing is. So you can just directly run from here. There's a question, what's the difference between append and extend? So append, extend is when you want, you have a, so let's say you have a list, then you have another list. So you want, if you extend, if it will create another, it will create X, Y, A, B. If not, it will create X, Y, A, B. So it basically different depend on your need. Usually people So you can see from this. So this image slide. If you have 1, 2, you extend, it will include that new list in that old list. So it's a one whole list, but with new objects. So, but if you append, if your original list is 1, 2, you append 3, 4, it will append the whole 3, 4 things in that 1, 2. So it is not one continuous list. So extend is you want to add things inside your list. This is better. You append the whole thing. You extend, you add one by one into the list. The result of a modulus is the remainder. Result of meaning if something divided by something, modulus is whatever the remaining of that division is. So if you want to, usually people use it to look like find this. So if in this our program that we use, if you do not want to this model to detect every frame, you can use a modulus to filter out, like you want the model to just detect once every 5 frame or once every 10 frame. You put a modulus. So if it's the remainder is 0, then you proceed with this. If not, it skip. What output? The output of this script, or
the output of the modulus.
the output of the what? Sorry, cannot hear.
The output of the modulus, is it going to be in like a specific class? Like, is it going to be like in?
Oh, it's the modulus output is let me double check.
Okay.
Yeah, the modulus the output is an integer. So if something divided by something, you get an integer remaining. So that's what it is. So if 10 divided by 3 is 1, so it's the output is number 1 of the integer. So if you want to put something, you put like if output equals to something, do something. It's not a class, it's just an object of the integer.
All right, cool.
Is everyone able to run this thing? That's the classic Python problem. So if you get an indentation error, meaning you are not writing the code consistently. So if I want to space this out, I can use the tab. I can use the space many times. So so you have to be consistent. If you want to use the tab, you use the tab all the way. If you want to use space, you use space all the way. So you cannot put this line is a tab, this line is a space, this line is a tab back. So there's in Python, because you don't have a semicolon at the end, so Python read it by indentation. Either your indentation is not the same, or you are using the wrong tab and space. So I showed this line is a command that wait for the letter Q. So if you are successfully run your program and you press Q, it will quit. So this is what this line is. Yeah, true. Better than finding the semicolon. Yield is when you want to return something indefinitely. So let's say for a loop, when you loop something, you know already how many things are going to be output value. So you know that the length of the loop. So we use yield when we want to. So let's say we creating blank images. So we take the function and we return a blank image. So we want to yield as we want to keep outputting the images for some time that we don't know how much or how long. So that's where the yield come from. State generator. It's basically churn out value unlimitedly until you want to break it. So let's say you are multiplying you are multiplying number with the same numbers x multiplied by x. So but if you put in a for loop like 5, so it will just do 5 times. So but for yield it will return independently. Return is okay. So let do something. So let's say you want to do a function of something at something. So let's say first number we are putting it as 10. Second number is 20. So that is a function in Python. So you want to add two numbers. So and then we put a parameter inside it, and then we put a return is when you want to whatever you want to return from this get back from this so let's say you want to add two numbers, so print add first number, second number. So if you can guess that this thing will give you output of so return is because we get 30 because this statement alone, just this without the print. It's fine. return whatever this plus this. So return is what value are you getting out of your function. So your function do some things and then it return back that value to you. So that's the purpose of a function. Okay, so if you are not familiar, this is a compilation of everything most of the thing you can do with Python. So there's like a zillion things that you can do projects with Python. So basically there's a one language that can do all. So you can do admin panel, servers, CMS, database, cryptocurrency things, date and time, file management, robotics, API, podcast, and so this is all the libraries are that related to what you want to do. So if you're familiar about on WordPress, so there's a Python version of WordPress. And then you have computer vision version. You have cryptography, data analysis, database, and you can read most of the database, MySQL, Postgres, SQLite, NoSQL. So basically that's okay. If everyone able to run this program, okay. There's a question here. Okay. That's a good question because the first time I heard about GitHub, I'm really confused. I don't know what's the purpose of this thing. So GitHub is like the place where you store all your source code, and then it become more. You will see more of the benefits when you work in a team. So let's say you work on a project and you write part of the codes, like you write this script and your other friends write another script. So when you want to combine that, you basically push that code to the GitHub to merge it together. So basically, it's more of a collaborating work, collaborating your work, and make your work easily accessible to others. If not, you're going to send that person your source code in zip file or an email, and then that person send back, and you have like version 1, version 2, version 3. It quickly become redundant. So GitHub is to centralize all the codes in one place, so you can exchange to each other. So it's also is a good place to do an open source project. So like, let's say you develop some app in Python and you open it to everyone. So let's say there's someone out there that that's very good in Python and he wants to contribute to your code, and he can add that code to you, and you can merge it together with your codes to become a better. So that's how then open source library are being made. So it's a collaboration between many different persons. So GitHub, basically you can think it of a place to store your code and collaborate with other person. It's actually really good. So you have to try to understand why people create it in the first place, because it pretty hard to understand when you first heard about it. Yes, Stack Overflow is more of a Stack Overflow is yes, it's a place to ask questions. And also, if you are, why do people like to answer the question in there? Is because when you answer many questions that have a good good solutions, a big company will headhunt you there. So people that want to find a Python developer going to find the person who like answer like thousands of Python questions, and he knows like this guy is very good and I'm going to hire you. So that's why people want to answer a question on your Stack Overflow. So it's not just about a question and answer. People want to showcase their ability to solve problems. Is it necessary? I would say yes. Most of the job in programming ask you to share your GitHub account with them. So I would say it's pretty important. I'm not sure if you can create an augmented reality with Python because it's 3D modeling things. So you may need to integrate with Unity or something else. You can do the raw code in Python, but to do the modeling and 3D stuff, you have to use other libraries, because Python is not a 3D modeling language.
Sir,
Yep.
There's a question in the chat box by Fazira Modi.
Okay. So let's try that. It doesn't when you divide, if you can see from the screen, like if I divide 17 by 2, for you it look like an integer, but the Python gives you a float number because it take that 17 and 2 as in 17.0000 2.000. So because it know the return result is a floating, it convert that whatever your question in the number in question is to float. So it doesn't matter if you give an integer to divide, it will cast it to float. You can change the type of it use integer. So let's say you want to look so let's say you want to look something, so you need to have a solid integer number, so you can cast that to as an integer using that in something in 7.5. So it will cast this back to integer 7. It have an integer, but you don't have to declare it. It automatically know that it is an integer or float or string. So fun fact, because I said before that Python is slower compared to a compiled language. So basically, people are building right now. It's a JIT. It's a just-in-time. It's a JIT. JIT is a just-in-time compiler. So meaning you just before you execute your script, there's another layer that compile your code and then run it. So basically, people are getting near compile performance out of Pythons because they're using some discrete code. So if you're interested, you can have a look at that. So if anyone have other question or they would like to go through some other projects that interesting, because we have another hour to go. Or things you don't understand in Pythons. Basically, if you want to learn, you just do a search of simple projects and just do the projects, because usually there's you will find some blockage here and there. So that's how you what's need to be done and what things needs to be used. So I think that's a good way to learn Python for me. Okay, on top of that, let me introduce you to if you use Python enough, you will find this thing called Anaconda. It's the same snake species as Python. So Anaconda is a virtual environment for Python. So if you browse through other tutorials or other code online, you will see a lot of people using Anaconda. So Python is a language. Anaconda is a virtual environment for Python. So what that means is that it instead of you install every libraries in your computer, so Anaconda create a separate environment isolated that you want to run that in that closed environment. So that is what Anaconda is all about. So you can install it, and so basically when you read a tutorial and it say that use Anaconda, you can either use it or don't use it, but people like to use it because let's say they want to try something, so they try it quickly, and then if they don't want, they just delete that virtual environment, so it clear up the computer. If not, you're going to clog your computer for a lot of libraries that you doesn't use. This is another website that you can see like what people are building in Python. So this is a real case things that people are building. So there's like a lot of things that are being added every day. So if you can do a line outline from Python. If you want to see other If you know C++, Java, and C, I think Python is like you learn 1, 2, 3 already. So it's if you know all that three complicated language, I don't think Python is a problem. So I would scale it on 1 or 2. So what do you guys learn in your courses? Is it C++ and Java? Did you learn Python too in your courses? Okay, that's good. I'm not a fan of object-oriented things, so I stay stay away as much as possible from object-oriented programming. So I mostly do in a functions, but difference. Yes, I find it's very confusing. That's why I don't use it. So, but for different people, it's different way. So there's a lot of ways. So yes, you can still use object-oriented in Python too, which is easier than doing in C++. I think people should start to learn language in the easier language, which is Python, and then you move to something harder like C or C++. Then you can make sense of all the complicated things in C++. Because if you start learning with C++, it's like you are suddenly learning math on integration and differentiation, and you don't learn the like 1, 2, 3 plus minus things. It's been that even in UK also they taught you a complicated programming language, C++ first, when you're still in degree. And I don't know why people like to teach a beginner C++ because I think that's a really advanced language. I would say the Python because I use them. But also good for you to learn one compile language, such as C++ is a good one. So basically, if you just know Python, so what you have trouble when you do a real world project is that you create something that is good to run on your laptop or your computer, and then when you want to deploy it on production, it become a huge problem because your program consumes too many memories, you leaking here and there, it's slow, and it's all over things. So it's good to learn one basic easy language and one compile language. So that is a good mix and match. So a compile language that is good is C++, I think, because there's a lot of people using it, so the community is quite strong. So what you want to learn is some language that have a strong community, not the best one, because people are saying that Rust are superior to C++, but if you try to code in Rust, you will get lost like forever because there's no community support. You cannot answer your question, cannot find the libraries, and it's a mess unless you are very hardcore programmer that code from binary of things, then it should be problems. I, uh, I'm a self-taught too because during my university days, AI still haven't exist yet. So what I did is I do a lot of projects. So on my day-to-day task is like it is different for each company. So some company has I want to build this product, so I want to inject an AI into that. So how do you think we can do it? So on another company, it's like the client come up with a problem. Let's say for my Samdabi projects, the client come up with okay, we have like a million trees that we need to count to evaluate on a daily basis. So what they did before I created the software is that they count each tree one by one. If you can imagine a satellite image of a palm tree, and you know how big is Samdabi plantation trees is, there's the largest plantation in the world. So they count that tree one by one, like a million of them, and then they need to do a statistic or whatever in the production side lah. Then then the Sandabi came and said, okay, how can we solve this using AI? So what I did is like I train an AI model that can detect and identify a tree. So we do an algorithm to count. So basically, what people are doing like 2 or 3 days before can just be done in like 3 minutes after you use an AI to count with an accuracy of about 97% and above. So that's where I think the genuine use of AI is to complement the work that is redundant and tedious work. So it basically, to answer the question, is it depends on what job you are in. If you are a product job, then you are basically solving the same problem every day. But if you are in a service job, you are dealing with different problems. That would depend on the company. That does not depend on the job itself, because I find like some companies is good because right now my working condition is very good, and I would say I don't have any stress at all, and I'm happy to do my jobs. It's challenging, but yet it's rewarding. But some companies it depends on it actually depends. So the problem with AI is like people think it's some black magic to solve things. You know? I mean, you want I give you this, I want AI to solve all of this. I mean, the real hard truth is not like that. So you cannot solve everything in AI. Although you see some things on the online website on the websites. So I think okay, I see someone doing this. Or can we use this thing to solve? So it's not that easy. So in AI, it depends on how many data that you have, how many hardware that you have. So this depends on a lot of things. So some company just want to solve the impossible things, which I think is a stressful thing, and it's a wasted things to do. Some company some managers, I say, not companies, some managers have a better overview of okay, this one is possible, this one is not possible, so we try the possible one, and if not, we're going to do other ways or something like that. So I would say it's not depend on the job, but the company itself. But you have to live, because this is quite a challenging job. You have to have a lot of thinking, and if that's something that you enjoy, then it will be enjoyable. If not, it becomes stressful to you. I would say yes too, because the only way to run to train a model right now is through an NVIDIA graphic card. So AMD cannot do it, only NVIDIA. And to know about NVIDIA, you have to know about the NVIDIA programming language, which is a CUDA. So you need to you don't need to be a specialist in that, but you need to know the basics of how to pass things around to train the model. So I would say that not so much that you need to know, but you at least have a basic or good understanding of hardware. If not, because the challenge to run an AI is not the code itself, it's the hardware. Because let's say because if you can think of Tesla, is I think it's a marvelous achievement, because from my point of view, it can run like 8 cameras on real times inside a car. So that is a really engineering challenge that is, I think, very hard. So if like Tesla read their cameras 1 second late, then there are probably going to be a lot of accidents. So basically, they are on the top of the line of how they doing AI, implement AI in real life. No, AI basically is just a fancy name for pattern finding. So it does not eliminate job, because in the end, the person who thinks, the only creature that can think in this world is human. So AI looks like they are churning a good output, but they actually just uh, do a pattern matching, on a much complicated scale. So if I say, AI will take over all the basic job that don't need to be done. So if you are someone who like copy paste something to something, or you are basically doing a low level basic job that doesn't require thinking, then AI will take over your job. But other than that, I don't see that happening anytime soon, or even in 10 or 20 years to come. It's the same as like the older days. There's a farmers that used to go and plant the trees by their hands, and then someone created sophisticated machines to fasten the process. So it doesn't stop that job. It doesn't stop the job on the farmer itself. It just moved that farmer to now operate the machine instead of do that low level job. So we still need human to supervise the AI. So don't worry, something in the Terminator or Terminator 2 will not happen yet, and I don't think it is possible in the near future.
Okay, well, yeah lah. I guess so. There are like certain things that we have to pick up if we want to go deeper into Python and get an actual job. So like learning at least a bit about hardware and stuff like that. So other than hardware, what would you say are important for someone like who wants to learn these kind of languages on their own? They're not going through university or something. Stuff they can Google search, stuff like that. Are there stuff like that?
You mean to learn Python?
Yeah, when because Python is just like a language, and then how they know what to use it for and such like that if they are on their own.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's why I said these things take a lot of wait, I changed the okay, this is take a lot of you need to do a lot of projects, so it doesn't get you to understand Python if you just see the code and copy paste the code. So it when you you need to have some. So the best way is like, okay, let's say I want to do a web scraper for Bitcoin. So I need to do this. You have a specific objective that you want to do, and then you learn from the start. Okay, so the first thing I want to learn how to script an API request, how to get an API request for the price of Bitcoin, let's say. So after that, you learn how to pass that object. So you learn how to manipulate the object. So you have to break that task into one by one, and then you can see that's how you learn. Okay, so when I need to request something from the server, I need plus library, I need request library. So when I want to read this JSON, I need this library. So at the first you're going to get a lot of hiccup and problems, but as you goes by, you know, okay, I've done this before. So to get something value from the internet, I use this. So that you need to be good. Like, okay, if you find a problem, you already know, okay, then there's some library exists that you can use it, or I know this algorithm can be solved like this. So the best way I would think is by yourself is find a medium to not difficult project, a medium projects, and try to do it on your own. So that would help to understand not only the syntax but also the library inside Python. It's just a lot of libraries.
So it's like maybe do you think that languages like Python should be like taught in like computer classes, like in sekolah rendah and stuff like that, so people are like exposed to something, maybe they will know if they like it or not, and they should pursue it.
Yes, I would say they need to they can it's better for them to put in this kind of teaching in a education system. But I don't recommend it to put on lower than primary school because it's quite complicated. But I think for secondary school that would be good. I think at least people are not have a basic understanding of what programming is and what a basic of a loop or variables or things inside it. I mean, you don't have to be good at it. At least you understand the basics, and then I think it's good enough.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
To answer this question of why the magazine is because you put a double CV2, so it should only be one CV2. CV2.CV2 is supposed to be just CV2, not CV2.CV2. What do you think of the AI robot like Sophia? I think that it's just a prototype and it to showcase like a basic NLP of AI right now. So doesn't have any purpose right now, including all the chatbot hypes. You can see no chatbot can chat like human. So we are still far away from getting the good result that the computer that can talk to us like human. Where do you usually go if you want to get hired as a programmer? LinkedIn. Or if you are adventurous, you can open a freelance website, upwork.com or what another one? peopleperhour.com. So it depends. You need to, but on that kind of freelance website, you need to get your reputation first. You need to complete few projects first because before people realize you. So if you're want to work a full-time developer, then LinkedIn is the best place to apply for jobs. As a someone fresh that you guys are, I would advise, instead of submitting a job application with I'm a fresh grad and I don't have experience yet, you just make a few projects that that relevant to what the job that you want to apply. So let's say you want to be a mobile programmer, so you go and build few of the mobile app projects and make a good one of it, and then when you apply, you show them that this is some projects that you already did. So because basically a hiring manager would want to see a result, because you can tell them you are like I'm good at this, I'm good at that, but from my experience, what they want to see is you've done something before. I mean, programming is pretty easy because you can do a separate project on your own, and you can claim that as your experience. But in other places like your construction or something, you cannot do this something like that, because you cannot construct your own house and do as a proof of your talent. So that's what I'm advising. If you guys want to apply for programming, do a few projects that are relevant to the company you apply. So don't send some project that's not relevant. Usually, at the very least, they will call you to the interview, which is better than like 90% of the other applicants.
Oh, a question. What like a person, an aspiring programmer, what specs of the laptop should they like at least have, so that they won't waste their money on some underperforming laptop? Should they like what kind of what level should they aim for when they're buying a laptop if they're a programmer?
I would say the best laptop for programmer is MacBook, but it's not for me now, because I'm using Linux. So any other I'm using a laptop with a NVIDIA card, so it's a pretty expensive one. But if you other general programmers would be MacBook is the best one, because MacBook has the same Linux command. So so every other server in this world are using Linux. So basically, it's the same command that you can connect with each other. So that's basically why programmers are using MacBook. So because there's a terminal and all the libraries in there. But the best one would be to use Linux, and you can install Linux on just any computer that you have. It's just it's pretty tedious to install the OS. But any computer will do, even the basic one will do. But if you want to do an AI, then basic computer cannot do. You have to have a powerful GPU computer for it. Other than that, just buy a MacBook Air, the cheap M1 MacBook Air. The best one for me is Ubuntu 18.04. So that's the most optimized and full of support libraries that available in Linux. So Linux right now, the latest one is 20.04. So 20, basically most of the one that I want to use still not available yet, but 18.04 is the best one I see. So if you want to skip MacBook, you can just use to learn Linux, because Linux is like everything in programming. Linux is the best OS for programmers, because every libraries are being built on Linux. So you don't have all this weird stuff of installing other things, installing compiler, installing everything. What kind of game do you play? I think it depends on the kind of game that you play. If you use Steam, then there's Steam for Linux. If you use the new MacBook Air, the M1, you can spawn a virtual Linux inside that OS. So basically, you run an Apple and a Linux, and you can even spawn a window on the same computer on the same screen, on the three different screens. So basically, it depends on what you want to use. But to learn, for specifically Python, I would advise you to use Linux machines. Yes, WSL just updated for Linux. But that would be only good if you are running basic things that you run in terminal. So if you're doing web programming and something like that, but usually I need a full-blown OS to run my AI system, because I need to tap into the hardware, tap into the visual things of it, and other things. So it different for each programmer. So if you just need a command line, then you can use WSL. Or you can use a dual boot. You can install Linux and Windows in the same computer, and when it starts, you just choose whatever you want. So for my everyday today browsing, I use Windows. So for programming, I use Linux. Yeah, yes.
Before we wrap up Learn to Code in Python workshop today, I would like to ask for everyone to please turn on their cameras for a short while to take photos together. We'll give you 3 minutes to open your cams. Your cooperation is much appreciated. Thank you.
Sir, can you stop presenting?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. You can leave now, the meeting, and have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Take care. Yeah. Exit stage left. Exit stage right.
At the edge of a universe.
No, we don't have any checkout link. It's just the attendance link.
Yeah, only one link.
All right. Thank you too.
A siren sounds like the goddess who promises endless apologies of paradise. And only she can make it right. So things are different tonight.